Please like the video and share it so that it reaches many more people and you get sawaba, or rewards from Allah. This could be a sawabe jariyah or continuous reward for you long after you are gone.
Volume 5, Book 59, number 404. Narrated by Aisha. Regarding the holy verse, those who responded to the call of Allah and the Apostle Muhammad, after being wounded, for those of them who did good deeds and refrained from wrong, there is a great reward. 3.172 She said to Urwa, O my nephew, your father, Az-Zubair and Abu Bakr were amongst them, i.e. those who responded to the call of Allah and the Apostle on the day of the Battle of Uhud. When Allah's Apostle suffered what he suffered on the day of Uhud and the pagans left, the Prophet was afraid that they might return. So he said, who will go on the, i.e. pagans, track? He then selected 70 men from amongst them, for this purpose. The sub-narrator added, Abu Bakr and Az-Zubair were amongst them. Volume 5, Book 59, number 405. Narrated by Qatada. We do not know of any tribe amongst the Arab tribes who lost more martyrs than Al-Ansar, and they will have superiority on the day of resurrection. Anas bin Malik told us that 70 from the Ansar were martyred on the day of Uhud, and 70 on the day of the Battle of Bir-Mana, and 70 on the day of Al-Yamamah. Anas added, the Battle of Bir-Mana took place during the lifetime of Allah's Apostle and the Battle of Al-Yamamah during the Caliphate of Abu Bakr, and it was the day when Musaylimah al-Kadhdab was killed. Volume 5, Book 59, number 406. Narrated by Jabir bin Abdullah. Allah's Apostle used to shroud 2 martyrs of Uhud in one sheet and then say, which of them knew Quran more? When one of the 2 was pointed out, he would put him first in the grave. Then he said, I will be a witness for them on the day of resurrection. He ordered them to be buried with their blood on their bodies. Neither was the funeral prayer offered for them, nor were they washed. Jabir added, when my father was martyred, I started weeping and uncovering his face. The companions of the Prophet stopped me from doing so, but the Prophet did not stop me. Then the Prophet said, O Jabir, don't weep over him, for the angels kept on covering him with their wings till his body was carried away for burial. Volume 5, Book 59, number 407. Narrated by Abu Musa. The Prophet said, I saw in a dream that I moved a sword and its blade got broken, and that symbolized the casualties which the believers suffered on the day of Uhud. Then I moved it again, and it became as perfect as it had been, and that symbolized the conquest of Mecca, which Allah helped us to achieve, and the union of all the believers. I, also, saw cows in the dream, and what Allah does is always beneficial. Those cows appeared to symbolize the faithful believers, who were martyred on the day of Uhud. Volume 5, Book 59, number 408. Narrated by Kabab. We migrated with the Prophet for Allah's cause, so our reward became due with Allah. Some of us passed away, i.e. died, without enjoying anything from their reward. And one of them was Mus'ab bin Umar, who was killed, i.e. martyred, on the day of Uhud. He did not leave behind except a sheet of striped woolen cloth. If we covered his head with it, his feet became naked. And if we covered his feet with it, his head became naked. The Prophet said to us, cover his head with it and put idkir, i.e. a kind of grass, over his feet, or said, put some idkir over his feet. But some of us have got their fruits ripened, and they are collecting them. Volume 5, Book 59, number 409. Narrated by Anas. The Prophet said, this is a mountain that loves us and is loved by us. Volume 5, Book 59, number 410. Narrated by Anas bin Malik. When the mountain of Uhud appeared before Allah's Apostle, he said, This is a mountain that loves us and is loved by us. O Allah, Abraham made Mecca a sanctuary. And I have made Medina, i.e. the area between its two mountains, a sanctuary as well. Volume 5, Book 59, number 411. Narrated by Uqba. One day the Prophet went out and offered the funeral prayer for the people, i.e. martyrs, of Uhud, as he used to offer a funeral prayer for any dead person, and then, after returning, he ascended the pulpit and said, I am your predecessor before you, and I am a witness upon you, and I am looking at my tank just now, and I have been given the keys of the treasures of the world, or the keys of the world. By Allah, I am not afraid that you will worship others besides Allah after me, but I am afraid that you will compete with each other for the pleasures of this world. Volume 5, Book 59, number 412. Narrated by Abu Hurairah. The Prophet sent a Sariyah of spies and appointed Azam bin Thabit, the grandfather of Azam bin Umar bin al-Khattab, as their leader. So they set out, and when they reached a place between Asfan and Mecca, they were mentioned to one of the branch tribes of Bani Hudhail called Lahian. So, about 100 archers followed their traces till they, i.e. the archers, came to a journey station where they, i.e. Azam and his companions, had encamped and found stones of dates they had brought as journey food from Medina. The archers said, These are the dates of Medina, and followed their traces till they took him over. When Azam and his companions were not able to go ahead, they went up a high place, and their pursuers encircled them and said, You have a covenant and a promise that if you come down to us, we will not kill any one of you. Azam said, As for me, I will never come down on the security of an infidel. O Allah, inform your Prophet about us. So they fought with him till they killed Azam along with 7 of his companions with arrows. And there remained Kubayb, Zaid and another man to whom they gave a promise and a covenant. So when the infidels gave them the covenant and promise, they came down. When they captured them, they opened the strings of their arrow bows and tied them with it. The third man who was with them said, This is the first breach in the covenant, and refused to accompany them. They dragged him and tried to make him accompany them, but he refused, and they killed him. Then they proceeded on taking Kubayb and Zaid till they sold them in Mecca. The sons of Al-Harith bin Amr bin Nawfal bought Kubayb. It was Kubayb who had killed Al-Harith bin Amr on the day of Badr. Kubayb stayed with them for a while as a captive till they decided unanimously to kill him. At that time, Kubayb borrowed a razor from one of the daughters of Al-Harith to shave his pubic hair. She gave it to him. She said later on, I was heedless of a little baby of mine, who moved towards Kubayb. And when it reached him, he put it on his thigh. When I saw it, I got scared so much that Kubayb noticed my distress while he was carrying the razor in his hand. He said, Are you afraid that I will kill it? Allah willing, I will never do that. Later on she used to say, I have never seen a captive better than Kubayb. Once I saw him eating from a bunch of grapes, although at that time no fruits were available at Mecca. And he was fettered with iron chains, and in fact, it was nothing but food bestowed upon him by Allah. So they took him out of the sanctuary of Mecca to kill him. He said, Allow me to offer a 2-rak'at prayer. Then he went to them and said, Had I not been afraid that you would think I was afraid of death, I would have prayed for a longer time. So it was Kubayb who first set the tradition of praying 2 rak'at before being executed. He then said, O Allah, count them one by one, and added, When I am being martyred as a Muslim, I do not care in what way I receive my death for Allah's sake, because this death is in Allah's cause. If He wishes, He will bless the cut limbs. Then, Uqba bin al-Harith got up and martyred him. The narrator added, The Quraysh, infidels, sent some people to Azam in order to bring a part of his body so that his death might be known for certain. For Azam had killed one of their chiefs on the day of Badr. But Allah sent a cloud of wasps which protected his body from their messengers who could not harm his body consequently.